As you may already know, the digital version of magazines are becoming popular these days. However, I still buy the physical magazine. When One Piece is on cover, it comes with the beautiful color illustrations. If you ever come to Japan, I highly recommend picking one up. It's worth it, and one magazine won't take up too much space from your luggage. Anyway, on this channel, I dive into the subtle nuance or meanings in Japanese that often get lost in translation during the weekly One Piece chapters. If this is your first time here, don't worry. I won't try to persuade you to subscribe. That decision is entirely up to you. Yeah, I've learned this from our protagonist, Luffy. And to my old subscribers, I appreciate you. It's because of your support that I've been able to keep this channel running up to this point. Today, I wanted to share an interesting observation about Figarland Shamrock, who caught everyone's attention in the chapter 1137. For those of you who have been following this channel, LunaPienArt, for a while, you might remember that back when the chapter 1121 was released, we speculated that the silhouette shown at the time was the next leader of the God's Knights, succeeding Gary as the current Supreme Commander. However, it turned out he wasn't technically the Saiko Shireikan here, Saiko Shireikan, which means Supreme Commander. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. This is a correct one. I'm sorry about that. Saiko Shireikan. Saiko means in this case Supreme, and Shireikan means Commander. Shamrock's title was introduced as Kami no Kishidan Danchou, Captain of the God's Knights. Here conveys the idea of being a group leader, someone who directly commands a team on the ground. In the flashback to God Valley 38 years ago, when Gary appeared, he was shown giving direct orders to God's Knights on the battlefield. This suggests that Gary held the position of captain at the time and later passed the role to the Shamrock at some point. Currently, Gary's title is Saiko Shireikan. Here, Supreme Commander. This role typically involves overseeing the entire organization, including the captain, from a remote location rather than being present on the ground or battlefield. This means Shamrock has not yet taken over Garing's position. However, since Gary has already been promoted to the rank of one of the 5 elders, it's possible that he is temporarily holding both positions, or that Shamrock might eventually take over the role of Supreme Commander in the future. Another example of a similar title can be found in the Revolutionary Army. Within the Revolutionary Army, the leader who seems to command operations on the ground or battlefields are referred as Guntaicho. Have you ever heard? If I translate it directly, it might become the captain of the combatants. In English version, I heard that translated as just commander. That sounds more particular, captain of combatants. While Dragon holds the position of Soushireikan. General commander. The perception that Dragon doesn't do anything, likely stems from the nature of this role, which involves overseeing the entire organization rather than taking direct action. I know some of you already noticed, Dragon's title in Japanese, is strikingly similar to that of God's Knights. Literally, Garing's title translates to Saiko Shireikan, Supreme Commander, while Dragon's is Soushireikan, General Commander. In Japanese, Garing's one conveys an image of someone with absolute authority, whereas Soushireikan, Dragons implies someone responsible for uniting and overseeing many divisions. Considering that Dragon was 70 years old during the God Valley incident and may have been a marine at that time, it's plausible that he witnessed God's Knights committing atrocities such as the massacre of the island's native inhabitants. This could cause him to become disillusioned with the Marines and leave the organization. As Koala once mentioned, the Revolutionary Army's true enemy is the Celestial Dragons, not world government. Therefore, it makes sense that Dragon would view God's Knights, a group composed of celestial dragons, as the ultimate target to overthrow. His title, So Shireikan, might even be deliberate imitation of theirs, God's Knights, symboling his resolve to oppose them. And when it comes to sword, the highest ranking member we know of so far is Drake, DS Drake, whose title is Taicho, Captain. Drake seems to lead this group, but based on Kuzan's description of sword, it seems there are likely more members than just ones we've seen. This implies that there could be other squads within sword beyond the one led by Drake. It would be fascinating if there was someone in the Marines holding the role of commander, Shireikan, overseeing of these squads' sword. By the way, this title, Shireikan, which means commander, in translation, can refer to the same rank as Chusa, which means commander, in the Marines hierarchy. However, in Japanese, the term Shireikan, commander, is entirely different from Chusa, the Marines rank of commander, so it's important not to confuse the two. So no, Hibari doesn't hold a title equivalent to Garing and Dragon's role. In the chapter 1137, it's confirmed that Figarland Shamrock is the son of the Figarland Garing. But what stands out is that, like Gunko, his name does not include the title Sei, which means saint. On the other hand, in Kuma's flashback, Garing is introduced as a part of God's Knights with the Sei title clearly attached to his name. While this could be simply an oversight, the fact that Gunko also doesn't have this title suggests it might be Oda Sensei's intentional. If is that the case, why doesn't Garing's son carry the Sei title, despite being part of the Figarland family? This might be connected to the newly revealed backstory of Hairudin. In his case, although he is the son of the king, his mother was not formal queen, because her originate is not from Elbaf, which led to her being looked down upon by other residents of Elbaf. As a result, Hairudin is enabled to officially claim the title of King of Elbaf. This is why he seeks the King of all Giants. I like this story. Perhaps a similar circumstance applied here, raising a question about lineage and status within the Figarland family and God's Knights. Similarly, it's possible that celestial dragons who are not pureblood descendants of the original 20 royal families cannot carry titles like Sei or Gu. If that's the case, it would explain why Shanks is said to come from the West Blue rather than Marijor. A plausible story could be that Garing visited West Blue before the Godberry incident where he had two children, Shamrock and Shanks, with a certain woman. This woman, after witnessing the brutality of the celestial dragons during the Godberry massacre, hid Shanks in the treasure chest to save him. But the chest was taken aboard the Roger pirate by chance. This story seems to align with what we know, and we've discussed it in more detail in the previous video, so feel free to check that out for the deeper dive. That said, there are cases like Bonnie's Bible cards, where it was initially stated that she was from the South Blue, only to later be corrected when it was revealed that she was actually born in the Marijor. Because of this, Shanks' origin remains a topic worth keeping an eye on in the future. Anyway, I have one question. Is there a connection between Shanks and Figarland family? As we know, in the flashback of God Valley, Garing appeared to be a caring father, as evidenced by his words, "Miteiro kodomotachi," watch closely, children. And his son, Shamrock, currently served as the leader of the Knights of God, suggesting he was likely raised with great care and attention. This raises a question. Why didn't Garing attempt to reclaim Shanks when he was with Roger pirates? One possibility is that the Roger pirates were crew equal the strength to the Whitebeard pirates, making it difficult to retrieve Shanks by force. Alternatively, Garing may not have realized Shanks' whereabouts and simply assumed him to be missing. similar to how Buggies was recognized as a former Roger pirate only much later, despite having a bounty poster for years. According to One Piece Volume 0, 2 years after Roger's execution 24 years ago, Shanks visited Yasop in Syrup Village. This suggests that Shanks likely formed the Red Hair Pirates around that time. By the way, Shanks' timeline can be a bit hard to follow, so I've created a rough chronological chart of his history on my page. If you are interested, feel free to check it out. You might discover something new. And if you find something, please let me know. Anyway, as their fame grew, it's only natural that Garring would have eventually noticed his son's existence. After all, Shamrock's resemblance to Shanks is undeniable. Speaking of Shamrock's way of speaking, it's worth noting that while he speaks informally much like Shanks, there's a subtle difference. Shamrock's tone carries a sense of superiority as he's looking down on others, suggesting he considers himself of slightly higher status. Curiously, when both of them adopt a more authoritative tone, their speech patterns start to sound somewhat similar, adding an air of dignity to their words. Personally, I believe Shanks and Figarland family have met at least once before. One theory is that Shanks took the initiative to seek out the Figarland family himself. Remember the moment Roger told Shanks something that made him cry? Yeah, it's likely Roger deliberately shared this information only with Shanks because it was about his lineage. Knowing this, it wouldn't be surprising if Shanks decided to contact the Figarland family on his own. And there's an interesting wordplay surrounding Figarland Shamrock. In Japanese, clover with 3 leaves is called mitsuba, and while with 4 leaves is yotsuba. Yeah, this reminds us of the map of Blue Planet that Oda-sensei drew in the early drafts, where an island called Yotsuba Island is mentioned. Here, this is Yotsuba Island. Yeah, in Japanese it's mentioned as Yotsuba to Kaigiki. Anyway, when Shanks left Fusha Village, he said this to Luffy. あと 2,3 回航海したらこの村を離れてずっと北へ向かおうと思ってる。After 2 or 3 more voyages, I'm planning to leave this village and head far to the north. Given that the Goa Kingdom is already relatively northern on the Blue Planet, it's plausible that his destination was somewhere near the Arctic. Although the Mercator projection makes it tricky to pinpoint, heading north from the Goa Kingdom would place Yotsuba Island on the way. The shared connection between Shamrock and Clover name suggests Shanks may have met Shamrock there. Afterward, it seems Shanks continued his journey north, possibly heading toward to the frozen country, in Japanese, Kori no Kuni, that Moria once mentioned. This theory aligns with the rivalry between Buggy and Shanks, where they argued repeatedly over whether the North Pole and the South Pole was colder. At that time, Ray, or someone thought to be him, reportedly said, "If you are so curious, just go and check for yourselves." It's amusing to imagine that Shanks actually took this advice and ventured to find out. Later, he reunites with Rayleigh. So it would be even more fascinating to think that he might have gone to report his trip to the Arctic to him. Another possibility is that Shamrock and Garring, upon discovering that Shanks had become a pirate, might have approached him to recruit him into the Knights of God. After all, the Knights of God also tried to recruit Loki, a royal who became a pirate. This fits the organization's pattern, making it entirely plausible. And then, the reason God's Knights came to Elbaf was, as expected, to bring Elbaf under the control of world government. In my previous video, I speculated that the Herald might be working with the world government to weaken Elbaf. Yeah, it's likely that, given his desire to promote trade with the outside world, Herald sought to establish a connection with the world government. Yeah, there are 2 possible scenarios here. First, Harald genuinely wished for peace and sought an alliance with the world government for the peace. Yeah, just for peace. The second one is Harald entered into a secret pact with the world government, aiming to use that alliance for ulterior motives. Both scenarios are plausible, but the story repeatedly emphasizes Harald as an unusually kind and gentle king to the point that it feels suspicious. This consistent focus suggests that his true intention might have been to destroy Elbaf from within, which will tie many pieces of the narrative together. As I mentioned in my previous discussions, let's take a closer look at Yaru. He's also brought up Loki in this context and seems to be defending him. One giant claimed Yaru was stabbed while trying to stop Loki. Yaru said, "I was saved thanks to my helmet." But if you observe Yaru's gaze during this statement, he averts his eyes. As many of you already know, in One Piece, characters who are bad at lying often show this exact behavior, looking away when they are trying to conceal something. This implies that the person who stabbed Yaru in the head might not have been Loki at all, but someone else entirely. One possibility is that Loki and Yaru worked together to kill Harald. According to Ripley, Harald clashed with the village elders who valued Elbaf's traditions because he pushed for trade with other nations rather than prioritizing battle. Harald's actions likely went against Elbaf's warrior values. In previous chapter, Loki expressed pride in being a warrior when addressing the wolves. And in this chapter, he stubbornly rejected the Knights of God's invitation. This suggests that Loki's ideas align more closely to Elbaf's traditional ways, making them similar to Yaru's perspective. It's possible that Yaru and Loki joined forces to stop Harald's policy of allying with the outside world. Furthermore, the sword that was stabbed into Yaru's head bears the striking resemblance to Harald's own sword. This raises the possibility that Harald himself stabbed Yaru during their conflictions or their confrontation. In the end, Harald, who was being used by the world government to weaken Elbaf, was killed by Loki. This led to the failure of the world government's plan to undermine Elbaf. Now, with the world in chaos again due to the Vegapunk's broadcast, the God Knights are making a renewed effort to bring Elbaf under their control. And it was revealed in this chapter that Harald appeared to carry the blood of the ancient giants. So far, the ancient giants we've seen in detail are Ors and Roro Ord Jr. Ors in particular was a fearsome figure who rampaged across the seas 500 years ago, claiming entire nations as his territory and building a land of villains. This history reinforced the idea, as mentioned in the chapter, that ancient giants are often associated with war and destruction in people's minds. However, Roro Ord Jr. had a much gentler personality, as we saw in the interactions with Ace. Even his rampage during the Summit War was motivated solely by his desire to save Ace. Likewise, it's possible that the story will reveal similar contrast between Harald and Loki. While Harald might harbor truly ruthless and cruel thoughts beneath the surface, Loki could turn out to have kind and gentle hearts deep down. This duality might play a key role in the narrative moving forward. As you can see, Oda Sensei often includes playful wordplay and hidden message from various angles. I create a detailed article explaining those wordplays and nuance in Japanese for each chapter. The article for the chapter 1137 will be publicly available tomorrow, so please check it out. For members, I offer exclusive live stream and access to all my past analysis. If you're someone who wants to dive deep into the One Piece world, I'd love to have you join us. With that, I'll see you in the next video.